Every minute you spend in the gym can either take you closer to your goals or further away from them. The real question is, are you training effectively enough to actually get stronger? Today, I'm gonna share with you 4 time-tested strength methods to help you take your strength and power to the next level. These methods have built world champions, but here's the kicker. They are simple and effective for everyday athletes just like yourself. Stick around to the end of the video because the 4th method is a method that I often see people overlook, and it's the method that is a game changer for people I've worked with for the last 2 decades. If you're new here, my name is Jason Brown, the king of programming, and I have been coaching athletes for 2 decades, helping them get serious results through efficient programming. This channel is about cutting through the noise and giving you the tools to train smarter and not just harder so you can reach your goals. Strength training isn't just about lifting heavier weights. It's about knowing what methods to lean on and how to use them. Every method should have a why in your program. And the methods I'm going to talk about today each have a specific intent and should be placed strategically in a strength training program. All right, guys, our first strength method for today is called the sub-maximal effort method. Heavy singles are great, but what if you could build strength and size without burning out? This is a method that allows you to do that. So sub-maximal effort method is essentially building to a heavy rep or a heavy rep max in any given bilateral lift. So if we think about things like our front squat, our press, or a hinge pattern like a deadlift, we would be strategically building in weight over the course of say 5 to 6 sets. Now, how I commonly plug this in to a strength training program is I would give instructions about whatever the movement pattern is and how I want someone to build over the course of a predetermined amount of sets. And the thing with sub-maximal effort method is that physiologically speaking, we get a lot of great benefits like neural drive and recruitment of high threshold motor units. And what that means is we're able to tap into, from a nervous system perspective, into these great things that help us facilitate strength gains. Okay, so it doesn't have to be overly complex, but know that when we use these methods that we are tapping into the ability for our skeletal muscle to move more weight. The goal is to get stronger, right? That's why you're watching this video. And this is a method that we can strategically do so. So the scenario here I'm gonna give you guys is a 5 rep max in the front squat. Let's say you have a current 5 rep max or a heavy 5 of around 225 pounds. We would wanna start with something like 95 pounds for 5, 135 for 5, 155 for 5, and so on, with the goal of essentially exceeding whatever that previous max was by about 5 to 10 pounds. Now, let's say you get into the session and your goal is to go to 225 for a 5 RM, and you start building up and you're getting closer to that weight and you're not feeling like you're able to do that. What you can do is you can give yourself a range. And this is what I like to do in my own programs, is I'll give people a range of 3 to 5 RM. This allows them to adjust based on how they're feeling. We know that every day is different, right? Like your sleep was off last night, your kid woke up in the middle of the night, and that throws everything off. This allows us to have some range because life is variable. We need to have range within our program. So if I tell my individuals that are using my training to do a 3 to 5 RM, they can fall somewhere in the middle there, and on subsequent weeks of training, they might be able to exceed that. So we might do the same sub-maximal effort lift for 3 to 4 weeks at a time with a range of rep max to give people the ability to auto-regulate based on how they're feeling, but with a goal on each week to go maybe a little bit heavier with load, or maybe they even go a little bit higher in repetition. So there's a lot of ways to progress this, but in its simplistic form, we are building, and over the course of those sets, our last 2 sets, 1 to 2 sets, is gonna be very hard, very close to failure, but with the goal of still keeping our motor patterns intact. Everything I'm gonna talk about here today, all the methods that are gonna come after this one, the goal of improving our movement patterns is number 1. Okay, we don't get stronger until we learn to move better. All of these methods that we're gonna talk about today will allow you to do that, and this one is no exception. All right, guys, our second method of the day is cluster sets. This is one of my favorites. This method will do all the things I just talked about with sub-maximal effort method in terms of motor unit recruitment, recruiting high threshold motor units, but the simplistic breakdown of this is it will get you stronger, and it will get you stronger by allowing you to have rest during the actual set. So if you remember, we just talked about doing a heavy 5 with the front squat. Imagine you were doing that heavy 5, but instead of doing 5, you did 2 reps, re-rack the bar, rested 20 to 30 seconds, did 2 more reps, re-rack the bar again, rest 20 to 30 seconds, and then did 1 rep and then rested for 3 minutes. Do you think you'd be able to lift more weight that way or less weight? If you guessed more weight, you were correct. So this is a method that allows us to work with heavier loads than we would normally work with, as opposed to just doing a straight set of 5 reps. With that, Here's the greatest part, besides getting stronger, that you are going to be able to move with better movement patterns across those sets with heavier loads. So this reduces mechanical breakdown and allows you to tap into all that great physiological process that we mentioned, but do so in a way that's going to facilitate your health and longevity. That is what it's about, my friends. If you're here watching these videos, you want to be training for the next 20, 30, 40 years, I'm with you. This is a way that we do it, okay? So with that said, how do we plug this into a program? Well, it's not going to be plugged in the same way that we did sub-maximal effort method, although you could do it that way. The way that I like to leverage this method is by using percentages. So I would use a 80, 85, 90. So week 1, week 2, week 3. Week 1, I'd use 80%, and I would do that same scheme, 2, 2, 1, resting 20 to 30 seconds between those clusters, and then a full 3 minutes after the full set is complete. And then I would go up in the percentage each subsequent week, ending on 90 to 95% for 1, 1, 1. And that might be only 2 to 3 total work sets, all right? So hopefully that made sense. I just wanna break it down one more time for you guys so this is very clear. Week 1, you're gonna do 3 sets of clusters with your squat or your press or your hinge for 2, 2, 1. Rest 30 seconds between the clusters and then full 3 to 4 minutes after the full set. Week 2, you're gonna use 85% for 2, 2, 1 for 3 total work sets, resting 3 to 4 minutes, same deal, 30 seconds between sets. And then your final week, you're gonna use a 1, 1, 1 scheme, same amount of rest between clusters, 3 to 4 minutes between sets, and you're gonna do that for 2 work sets. Okay, so the work that you were going to do, you're gonna have to warm up to. You're gonna have to build in weight across multiple sets, arrive at your work weight, and then use that weight across all of your work sets. Hopefully that made sense. If it didn't, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to fill you guys in on that. This is a phenomenal method that I use all the time without fail because it allows people to work with some heavier loads, build your confidence with those heavier loads, physiologically do all those great things that we mentioned and get you stronger. All right, guys, third method, wave loading. So just like the name implies, we're gonna use waves with different rep schemes to progressively overload across a predetermined amount of sets. So this is a method that I've been using for a really long time. I learned it back in the day from Christian Thibodeau, and the benefits of it are all the same as everything I just mentioned. It will improve motor unit recruitment, it'll improve motor control, it will certainly allow you to get stronger, it'll allow you to strategically build in weight, but the psychological benefit of this is that you're waiving the amounts of weight that you're using on the barbell. So you might go up to say 225 and then come back down to 185, and then go to 275, come back down to 225, so on and so forth. All right, so there is the ability for you to move better with these. There is ability for you to have more just confidence in your ability to perform any given lift. But when we do this, we can bias different schemes based on our goals. If we have goals of more hypertrophy, we can certainly go with some higher rep schemes with some heavier loads, or if we have the goal of more strength and performance, we could go with some lower schemes. I'm gonna give you 2 schemes that I love to use with wave loading. Wave loading for more hypertrophy, more mechanical tension would be something like 8-6-4, 8-6-4. So if I was using a hinge pattern and I was doing 8 reps, increasing weight, doing 6 reps, increasing weight, doing 4 reps, then I would wave back down, drop down potentially 20 to 30 pounds or whatever the case may be based on your individual strength levels, and then I would wave back up with the goal of beating my final set of 4 on that first wave. So wave number 1 should potentiate wave number 2. Now, if my goals were more strength and performance, I might go with a 3-2-1, 3-2-1, 3-2-1. So 3 waves this time, where again, the goal is to wave up, wave down, wave up, wave down, and then obviously we'd be culminating with our heaviest single for that day. So this is a way that you could build to a heavy single. But what I usually tell people is the goal isn't necessarily to build to a 1 rep max. If you wanted to build to a 1 rep max, you want to conserve as much energy as possible. This isn't a way that you will conserve energy, but it is a way that you potentially have a little bit more novelty to your strength training. So novelty is certainly something I don't talk about enough, but it's an equally beneficial part of strength training. It keeps you engaged, it keeps you in the process, and it keeps things fun and interesting. That is something that I'm going to talk about in the next method for sure, but that is something that this method will do and allow you to build to some loads and have a little fun doing so. All right, guys, if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. As a special thank you, I want to offer you an insane deal on any of my training subscriptions. That link is in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. All right, guys, method number 4. Dynamic effort training, popularized by the GOAT himself, Louis Simmons. This is the method that people are not utilizing. And why do I know? Because I've worked with thousands of people over the years. They always come to me thinking, well, I don't do any of this. I need to lift heavy. This isn't heavy enough. Is it going to get me to where I want to go? Yes, it will. And here's why. It has the benefit of allowing you to work on speed, work on developing force. This comes by moving as fast as possible. When we move heavier weights, we invariably slow down over the course of those sets. With dynamic effort training, we are moving fast for all of those sets. So we have benefits as far as work capacity. We have benefits as far as tapping into type 2 muscle fibers. We have benefits as far as improving rate of force development. We have benefits as far as conditioning. You're doing a lot of sets with not as much rest. And the last thing, because we're doing so many sets, we are going to improve what? Say it in the comments. Your movement patterns, which is a non-negotiable thing in any of my training. So this is a method that allows us to do all of those great things and put us in a position where now we're not just lifting heavy, we're more diverse, we're a more fine-tuned machine. We lift heavy some days, we lift fast some days. So it allows you to stay athletic. I cannot tell you guys how many times I am caught just sprinting or trying to rescue one of my kids from falling or whatever the case may be. I utilize my athletic ability as much now as I did when I was in my 30s. And I think that anyone that thinks that they don't need this because they're not an athlete anymore, they need to be educated on why they do need it. Everyone can benefit from this style of training. So dynamic effort training is you taking that barbell, just like we talked about for all those great methods. You're doing that front squat, but instead of working on achieving the heavy load, we're taking that one light load and we are moving it as fast as possible across those sets. 3 to 5 reps as fast as possible. Box squatting with moving, accelerating through the bar on every single set. So the intent here is on speed and movement quality, not as much on loading. So we're gonna take one weight and we're gonna use it across a lot of sets. So for most cases when we program this, we're gonna be doing somewhere around 6 to 10 sets of anywhere from 2 to 5 reps. And the percentage that we're gonna be using is going to be light. Now, a lot of times I say anywhere from 40 to 50% of your 1 rep max, and then maybe you're using some band or chain. I know a lot of people don't have bands or chains, but the main thing here is, guys, don't worry about the percentage or don't worry about using bands or chains. Worry about your speed, how efficiently you can move across those repetitions. If you find yourself grinding, which is what most people usually do when they're new to this, go down and wait. Remove your ego, go down and wait, and move faster. You will get more from this if you move fast as opposed to not moving fast and kind of grinding through those reps. So a really classic way to plug this in will be something like 8 sets of 3 with a squat pattern or a bench press pattern, and doing that every 60 to 90 seconds. We're knocking out a set of 3 and with the intent of moving as fast as possible. All right, guys, just to recap, we talked about 4 methods to improve strength, to improve your ability to move with your bilateral lifts, your squat, your presses, your deadlifts. These methods are time tested and will work to your advantage. So implement them. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns, or maybe you're wondering, should I even use these or not? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you on the next video. Remember, results are king.